Hello Friendzies, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is, I don't want to say serious because then it makes it sound like I'm gonna tell you guys a really sad, in-depth background story. It's not serious, but it is serious. It's something that I've actually wanted to talk about for a while, that I've thought about making a video about for a while. I wasn't really sure how to go about it, and then I just kind of was like, why don't I just sit down and talk about it? I just want to talk about how sometimes in relationships, whether it's platonic or romantic, sometimes you are the one at fault. This does not include, all of the content of this video does not include a relationship where someone, whether it was you or the other person, was incredibly toxic or abusive in any way. That is not what we're talking about. We do not support abusers. We hope abusers choke. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about relationships where it's very easy to blame the other person when they don't succeed. But it's not always easy to look at it and go, wait a second, I was part of the issue there. If you guys understand what I mean. And the way I'm going to talk about it, it's going to all be from personal experience because that's the only way I really know how to talk about it. And that's the only way I know how to kind of get my point across, if that makes sense. So we're going to talk about my personal relationship where, like I said, it's very easy to look at it and be like, well, that person didn't do this and didn't do this, but it's not easy to sit there and be like, wait a second, I wasn't the greatest person in the world in this relationship. So I think I've mentioned it a couple times before, but in high school, there was this boy that I dated very briefly. We were friends for a year and a half maybe, and then I asked him out the day after senior formal if he wanted to be my boyfriend, and he said yes, and we dated for the latter half of senior year, so about 5 months. And then I'm not going to go into details because all of my friends already know the details, and I don't want you guys to the point of this video is for me to have you guys not jump all over him and be like, yeah, he's a jerk. But at the end of senior year, he broke up with me and then moved away for school and everything. And there were quite a few things that I can say. I can say my friends who are defending me, because they love me, can say there were quite a few things that he did that weren't great. He wasn't ever abusive, he wasn't ever extremely toxic or anything, but he wasn't the nicest all the time, which probably makes it sound really bad. That makes it sound bad. He wasn't the worst person in the world. I have dealt with actual abusive people in my life, not to get real, but I am a kid that came out of child abuse. I know what abuse is like. This boy that I dated was not abusive at all. He was just not the best in the world. But to be fair, no one's great in high school because I was a disaster. Anyway. But yeah, it's very easy for me to say well, he broke my heart and he did this and he did that and he could have been better about doing this and things like that. But it took me a very long time to go, wait a second. And the first time I kind of stopped and did that, it was 2 years out of high school. This May 2019, I will have been out of high school for 5 years. So yeah, it took me about 2 years to kind of stop and go, wait a second. I also mentioned this in a video before. In high school, I really did not understand social cues. No, that's a lie. I understood them, but I couldn't understand when they were negative towards me, if that makes sense. I'm good at reading people. I've always been good at reading people, but I refused to acknowledge, I guess, when I was making people uncomfortable, me personally. And I did that a lot in high school. It got better as I got older. Junior and senior year weren't as bad, but freshman and sophomore year was bad. I made people uncomfortable with no intent behind it. But I I don't know. I don't know how to describe it because my memory is really bad too. I made people uncomfortable with things I said and things I did, and it wasn't malicious. It wasn't like done with intent. I did things and then couldn't understand why people were reacting negatively to them. And then junior and senior year was kind of no different because then it was like with a romantic aspect. But especially when we first, like me and that boy first started getting like close. I don't want to say flirty, but I want to say close. Close was a better word to describe it. With this boy in particular, I reckon the first day that I saw him, he was, you know, like the kids that you like grow up with your entire life. Like kids move away or move to your town or whatever, but there's kids that like you go to school with from like kindergarten all the way to senior year, and you like, whether you're friends or not, you know these kids. He was one of them. But I had never, like, paid attention to him before. It was funny because, like, sophomore year, when we had, like, our ring dance, when we got, like, our class rings or whatever, I sat next to him because it was done alphabetically, and he was right after me in the alphabet. And I sat down, and my dress was, like, poofy, so it kind of, like, went out, and it was, like, half of it was on this kid's lap, and half of it was on his lap, and I had no idea it was him. Anyway, he walked into class junior year, and my friend and I were talking about like, oh yeah, the teacher's gonna put us alphabetical, like we're not gonna be sitting next to each other, and this boy walked in and he got really hot over the summer. I'm pretty sure he was always hot, but he got real hot over the summer, and I like smacked my friend and I was like, who is that? She was like, that's this kid, like, hello. And I was like, oh, bye girl, like we're sitting next to each other, like, so it was very attractive. And when I first started talking to him, we were just kind of like chatting in class, like, oh, like, do you need help with this project? Like, da-da-da. He was very sweet and kind and everything. And he was always pretty sweet to me. But the closer we got, the more I realized that, like, there was this movie that I loved, and there was this prince in the movie that I loved. And for some reason, when I talked to this boy, that prince, that is a fictional character, was like what I thought he was. So that was like my first thing that I did that wasn't a good thing against him. I had this like really unrealistic ideal of who he was and like who he should be. So when him and I like started getting closer and started like talking, and me realizing that he was like an actual human being and not a Ken doll that I could like make act how I wanted to, you know, it was very like unsettling for me, and I reacted really poorly. I think I don't remember exactly what happened. I think I was like very upset with him for something that like was probably really silly, and he like didn't know what to do with that. Because what are you supposed to do when some random person is like, you're not how I thought you were, and they're like, what did you think I was? Ugh. So there was that. I had this very unrealistic ideal of him, and the more I realized he was a human being, it was like, no, that's not how you're supposed to be. So that's one thing I did, you know what I mean? And the other things were just like, I was very, like I said, I didn't listen to social cues, so like I was putting a lot of like emotional weight on him, and being like very emotionally, how do I say it? I'm trying to think. I think I was like emotionally deprived. So I would maybe just saying, yeah, emotional weight. I was very emotionally deprived. So I think I was putting all of that on him and like hoping that he would react and like provide that, you know what I mean? But like, I was an annoying kid in high school. He was an annoying kid in high school. Like, we're literally in high school. Everything's big and scary because we're sheltered in this little building with like routines and everything. Like, So it was scary for me, but it was probably scary for him too, because it's like he's already dealing with all his nonsense, and then some girl is just like, take care of me. Which like isn't funny, because that was probably really overwhelming and really hard for him, but like, sorry. So it's things like that, and that was most of what our relationship was, I think, was his lack of communication with like how he felt with his feelings and things like that, and then my lack of communication and lack of understanding of like what I was doing, putting emotional weight onto him. It was high school. I mean, like, not saying that relationships in high school are never gonna work, because one of my friends dated her boyfriend all throughout high school and dated, I believe, about 2 years into college. You know what I mean? Relationships work. Sometimes they don't. But sometimes they don't work because, you know, the person's an abusive piece of shit and is really toxic and is really awful to their partner, friend, what have you. Or sometimes they don't work because neither of you are great. You're not necessarily meant to be together. Like, one of you doesn't communicate and is really standoffish, and the other one of you is like emotionally damaged and super clingy and like doesn't know how to read social cues or refuses to read social cues. I don't know if the point I was trying to get across came across. The title of this video is probably a lot harsher than what I'm trying to say, but I want it to kind of get my point across. I just want you guys to understand that when you have a breakup, people are allowed to not want to be with you. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're really into them and you're really happy about it, or you're friends with somebody and you're really happy about it and you think everything's going well, and that person distanced themselves, whether it's a breakup, whether they're just like, hey, I don't really want to be friends anymore for whatever reason, like, you don't have to be happy about it, but you have to respect their choice and allow them to step away. Because just because it's not incredibly toxic or incredibly abusive, it doesn't mean it's good for either of you. And like I said, it's super easy, especially when like you're the one who got broken up with, to be like, well, I don't need them, like they're an asshole, meh, 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 because like I'm not gonna lie, this boy that broke up with me, you know, he broke my heart and he's the worst and he's this and that and everything, and like I know my friends are gonna be like, okay, but like he actually is though. Like I know, I get it. And I'm not happy about that breakup at all. I still have, it's been, like I said, it's been 5 years, and every once in a while it's still really hard for me to like sit there and think about it, and it hurts, and it still sucks because that was like my first love and everything. It still sucks and I'm not happy about it, but I respect his choice now. I didn't respect his choice at first. I thought it wasn't fair and all this other crap. But like, he doesn't owe me anything. Now that I've like gotten older and I've kind of fixed my emotional issues and I've dealt with like reading, I'm much better about reading social cues now, and I'm much better at when I realize I'm like ignoring them. When I realize that I'm sitting there and ignoring like social cues and like how people are reacting to me, I go, hey, wait a second, don't be an asshole. This person's uncomfortable because of something you're doing. I'm much better at that now, and I can happily say that, thank goodness. But at first, when I didn't realize that that was something I was doing and something I was guilty of, I just didn't get it, and I was like, there's no reason why, and meh, 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 he's a jerk, and like, he doesn't deserve me, and like, meh, meh, meh. But that's because I was young and silly and uneducated, and I needed to learn. A lot of this is disjointed because my cat is scratching the back of my chair and I'm sneezing. You can probably hear it in my voice. I'm so sorry. The point is, I was not innocent in that breakup at all. Like, I don't know how else to say it. There was a reason why he broke up with me. And at first I did not like it and I wasn't happy about it and I was pissed off and I didn't see any point to it, but now that I'm older and wiser and understand things about myself that I need to work on, I respect his choice. Like I said, I'm still not like super happy about it. I do still have my opinions on how it could have gone better probably, but I respect his choice and I understand now the different aspects of that relationship and the different aspects of that breakup. So I'm just trying to say that, like I already said, you don't have to be happy about it. Like, you're allowed to have whatever feelings you have. Like, your feelings are valid no matter what. As long as you're not an awful person, like, you're allowed to feel however you want. But you have to respect that other person's choice. Or if you're the one who did, like, the breakup or the distancing in the friendship, you have to, that other person has to respect your choice. Your feelings are valid, their feelings are valid, but you need to understand that there's a reason. And like, again, if like one of the two people in this relationship, platonic or romantic, whatever, if one of the people is super toxic, super abusive, like cheated on you, manipulated you, anything like that, that doesn't count. We're not talking about that. We hate those people. We hope they choke. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a fairly decent relationship, friendship, or relationship, romantic relationship, a fairly decent relationship that just wasn't working for whatever reason. That's what we're talking about. And it sucks. Being broken up with sucks. I've kind of been broken up with twice. The other one's a long story. It doesn't feel good. It's not nice. It makes you feel real sad. But that other person had a reason for doing it. You know what I mean? Both situations for me, that other person has a reason. The second reason is like super crazy, like legitimate, valid, whatever. But the first person also had a reason. And I don't know for sure. I know one aspect of it for sure, but maybe he was just uncomfortable with how I was like extremely overbearing and like needed to like be 24/7. You know what I mean? Like with him knowing like what he was doing and things like that. And just like needed constant attention, I guess is how I'd like to say it better. He was probably like uncomfortable because of that, and he probably didn't know how to communicate with like other feelings and stuff. I'm not trying to put like words in his mouth or whatever. I'm just using this as an example. Hey, I'm not gonna say your name. If you are that ex-boyfriend and you are watching this for whatever reason, hi, I'm really sorry how that turned out. I'm sorry if I made you super incredibly uncomfortable for those like year and a half. Like genuinely. I want you guys to understand that. I want you to understand that you could be the best person in the world, but you are not meant to be with some people. No matter how badly you want it to work, you are not meant to be with certain people, whether it's friendship, whether it's like ragtag family group, whether it's romantic, what have you. There are some people in this world that just aren't meant to be in your life and not meant to be your boyfriend or your best friend, or you know what I mean? And you don't have to be happy about it, but you have to respect that because they are also having their own feelings and thoughts about the situation that are not making them feel great. Just because you're having a good time doesn't mean the other person is, you know what I mean? So I wanted to talk about that. I feel like I said the same 3 things 6 or 7 times, and I'm really sorry. I get really rambly. My cat was interrupting me. I don't know. It was something I wanted to talk about for a while. I feel like I haven't done like a real chat for a while, probably not since bisexual commentary. That sounds right. And what was that? That was like last year? That was like later last year? No, it was June. Anyway, I feel like I haven't sat down and done like a real chat in a while, so that's what I wanted to do. And this was something I've been thinking about for a while, and recently it became very relevant in my life, so I just wanted to talk about that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you wanna. Come be a Friendzy. Come swim around with me. We're gonna be a shark gang. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna get matching jackets. Alright guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye!